Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different to get you ready for that OCR Computer Systems exam. We aren't just looking at past papers, we're going directly behind the scenes. We are cracking open the June 2025 mark scheme for J277/01 to see exactly how the RM assessors, the actual humans grading your exams, are instructed to award and sometimes deny you points. Think of this as the ultimate cheat code, straight from the examiner's playbook.
So, do you know the one mistake that automatically gets you 0 marks on a correct answer? Let's dive right into this because there's a strict marking rule that catches out thousands of well-prepared students every single year. You might think that throwing every possible answer at the page increases your chances of getting a point, right? Well, it's a total trap. We're going to look at how the examiners are actually told to grade your paper, because understanding this single rule could literally be the difference between moving up an entire grade boundary or losing crucial marks. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. Inside the examiner's mind. 2. Mastering data and calculations. 3. Acing that 8-mark question. 4. Navigating networks and storage. And 5. Binary, hex, and hardware.
All right, Section 1. Inside the examiner's mind. Decoding the rules.
Take a look at this. It's the official front cover of the OCR paper. Now, ground yourself in the reality of this exam. When you're sitting in that exam hall staring at this exact cover, you need to remember that the person grading it isn't making subjective choices. They are following a very rigid set of guidelines applied to these 16 pages. Let's look at exactly what those guidelines say. Now, what's genuinely fascinating and maybe a bit scary is how easily you can lose marks just by hedging your bets. See these RM assessor rules? If a multiple choice question has one correct answer and you tick 2 boxes just in case, boom, 0 marks, even if one of those ticks was spot on. Furthermore, if you write down 2 contradictory statements, 0 marks. And get this, for those longer answers, if you provide 2 different responses and don't cross the first one out, the examiner will only mark the first one. The underlying assumption they make is that you're just trying to hedge your bets, and they are rigorously trained to penalize that. And get a load of this quote from the guide. Award 0 marks for an attempt that earns no credit, including copying out the question. So the absolute golden rule here, never ever waste your precious time just rewriting the prompt. The examiner literally has to give you exactly 0 marks for that effort. If you don't know the answer, try to formulate a logical guess based on what you know, but never just copy the question back to them. It's a waste of time and gets you absolutely nothing. Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering Data and Calculations, Securing Those Math Marks. Okay, say you're asked to define a pixel. You can't just say, oh, it makes up a picture. No way. This is the exact, totally unambiguous definition the mark scheme actually demands. They want the smallest unit or part of an image, or a single square, dot, or diode which has one single color. Did you catch that? Single color. That concept is basically bolded in the examiner's mind. It literally has to be there or you don't get the mark. Now, check out these file size calculation stages. The exam paper features a question asking you to calculate the total file size in kilobytes for 10 images, each 800 by 500 pixels with an 8-bit color depth. To guarantee credit, even if your final math goes a little wonky, you absolutely must show you're working out across these 5 distinct steps. It's like a safety net. First, calculate total pixels. Second, multiply by the number of images. Third, multiply by bit depth. Fourth, convert to bytes by dividing by 8. And finally, convert to kilobytes by dividing by 1,000. Write these steps out, and you're scooping up points even if you fumble the very last division. But, of course, arriving confidently at exactly 4,000 kilobytes, that locks in the final mark. Now, here's a fun little aside. The mark scheme notes they will actually accept dividing by 1,024 instead of 1,000, which gives you 3906.25 kilobytes. But honestly, why on earth would you make the math harder on yourself in a non-calculator paper? Just stick to dividing by 1,000, keep it clean, get your 4,000. All right, Section 3. Acing the 8-mark question, the QER formula. So, if you want to elevate your answer from a basic level 1 all the way up to those top marks in level 3, there is a very specific formula you have to follow. You literally must weigh up both sides of the discussion. You can't just list all the good things and call it a day. Plus, the instructions strictly mandate including at least one ethical issue and at least one environmental issue. If you miss just one of those categories, bam, you're capped at band 2. I don't care how beautifully written your answer is, you won't get past band 2. Let's look at the tablet manufacturing scenario here. To hit that top band, make sure you sprinkle in these specific insights. The question is about a company cutting costs and stopping software updates, right? So you need to explicitly mention both the customer and the company to max out your score. Talk about the ethical deception. Is it unfair to customers? Talk about the environmental nightmare of e-waste from all those discarded tablets. Then weigh the benefits, like increased profit for the company, right against the drawbacks, like their loss of reputation. Remember, it's a structured debate, not just a brain dump of facts. Okay, Section 4. Navigating networks and storage. Comparing technologies. Now, this is a real game changer. When you're choosing a secondary storage device, you can actually argue for either type as long as your reasoning lines up with the examiner's playbook. Take this example. The paper asks if a student should use optical or solid-state storage to move files. Get this, there are exactly 0 marks awarded just for picking a type. The marks come entirely from your justification. If you go with solid state, you gotta argue its durability, no moving parts, or its super fast read/write speeds. If you pick optical, you have to point out it's way more cost-effective per unit, and hey, lightning fast speeds really aren't necessary if you're just copying some files over. And what if you need to distinguish a local area network or a LAN from a WAN, say in the youth center scenario? The marker is literally scanning your answer for these 4 specific characteristics. You need to state that a LAN is confined to a small geographical location, like a single building, and, crucially, that it makes no use of external infrastructure because the hardware is entirely owned by the organization. Hit any 2 of these points without contradicting yourself, and boom, mark secured. Almost at the finish line, Section 5, Binary, Hex, and Hardware, Structuring Your Answers. See this breakdown? Mapping out operating system functions against their managed tasks like this is absolutely the clearest way to lock in your knowledge. In the exam, you'll see a checklist where you have to tick 1 box per row. You've got to know definitively that transferring data to and from RAM, that's memory management. Installing a printer driver? Peripheral management for sure. There is absolutely 0 room for vague descriptions here. It's a direct one-to-one mapping. You're also going to see partially completed grids like this one. They demand quick, totally accurate conversions between denary, binary, and hex. Like knowing off the top of your head that the denary number 38 translates to 26 in hexadecimal, or that the binary string 1001100 equals 156 in denary. Practicing these until they become second nature is just so essential because, honestly, these are guaranteed marks if you know the underlying math rules. To wrap up our explainer today, I'm going to leave you with this fun little puzzle from question 6 to see if you've really mastered the logic of this exam. So the paper gives you the ASCII code for K, L, M, and N. It tells us that N is 0101111. From there, you have to figure out the binary for the word pop. You'll need to count up in binary from N to find O, then count up again to find P, and then string the whole shebang together. I'll let you do the math on that one. Just remember, succeeding in computer science isn't just about memorizing facts like a robot. It's about reverse engineering the system that's testing you. Once you know the rules of the game, you control the outcome. Best of luck with your prep, and until next time, keep exploring.